Welcome, everybody. Day 3. By now, we're probably having people super overwhelmed. So today's lesson is really simple, particularly for people who've been following me and who fascia blast. But I think this is just something that I don't talk about that often. So I really want to break it down. We're definitely going to have our editors throw some pictures in here on your daily. Remember, you have a daily calendar. And if you just open that up or your daily email there, I went ahead and put some pictures and also in the teaser video of the actual intestines. Because I say it just like a hot dog, they're wrapped in something and it's fascia. But I think what people don't know about fascia is that the intestines are super, super long. Do y'all know off the top of your head? I forget.
Like 22 meters or something.
Yeah, like something really crazy, like drag it across the house kind of thing. But imagine that, like it's fascia on fascia on fascia, right? And so, of course, it can get adhered to itself. Okay. So we call this Crohn's, we call this some other things. We call it adhesions. I was able to Google a lot of stuff about intestinal adhesions, and it's like they pull it right up. But it's so crazy to me that people have missed fascial adhesions of the intestine. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware that our intestinal casing is fascia. And when we talk about absorbing through the intestinal walls, we are talking about being able to absorb it through the fascia and also through the microbiome. I put some other pictures in where you can see it's really like a casing of fascia with all these little villi, and then the bacteria is all in there. So it all plays a role. And anyone who has ever been to Hacienda del Sol, we've talked about it pretty extensively. The inside of the fascia can really become, I'm just going to call it scumified. And we start to develop biofilms that really have to get out because they're like a blockade or like a barrier for you to be able to absorb food. So I would love for everybody not only to win this and be able to come and do that level of cleanse, or just come to one of Jared and Lyle's and I's retreats next year. I'm sure you'll get lots of questions in the comments now about that. But I'm going to do another 1 or 2 coming up this year to kind of clean that inside of that fascia. And then once we start to go outside of the intestines, you're still moving into the visceral fascia, which is sort of that gelatinous fascia. And then you're right up against the abdominal wall. So I just wanted to say, and I'm going to have my video editors put in a before and after of fascia inside of a leg. So we know that we're talking about the abdominals, but we really genuinely feel that the theory holds true. Like when you work on a leg, you are not able to push a fascioblast or claw all the way to the femur, but yet we saw restoration of the fascia all the way to the femur. So what we believe is that you can palpate at the surface, and it's triggering a mechanism that can get it all the way down. And we've had tons of people report, we just did a challenge with the bladder and the pelvic floor using exercises and blasting, and the results were amazing. We didn't do any ultrasounds, but we've just had enough anecdotal evidence with like people being able to strengthen their bladder and things that you clearly cannot reach with a fascia blaster. So I would say when we talk about the abdominals and wanting to make sure that our actual intestinal fascia is good, I think blasting at the surface level is going to do that. So I know there's a lot of people, including Jordy, who's like, I have flat abs, so I don't really need to blast my stomach. And I'm like, it is not about that, right? So again, this is like an awareness and a shift. So is there any comments that you guys want to make about that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to understand is that, as you mentioned many times, that the fascia brings the structure. And if the structure is tight anywhere along the body, if it's tight, the nutrients won't arrive and the toxins won't be able to leave or to move around to, for example, the liver or a fatty tissue, because that's where they get storage normally. We don't want toxins, but if that happens, you want them to be in the right places in the body. But I would say the most important, if it's tight, you won't get the nutrition because the oxygen won't be able to reach the cells because the vascular system is tight. That's why people
so much in all of the recent blogs that I've written, and you guys know I always dive right into the science. And fascia now is being called a vascular system. Because the way people don't really realize that, like, we don't have blood innervation to trillions of cells. We don't have little trillions of branches of blood. So it's like, okay, well, how does the blood, which carries the nutrients, oxygens, et cetera, get to the cells? And it literally is like the blood is coming with all this amazing nutrition that we're going to put in it. And then it gets to the tips of that capillary. And then there's like these little spaces that basically the best possible blood, your blood plasma, smushes out into your fascia, and then it's uptaking. I mean, to me, I would say that your fascia it's a nutritional delivery system, and it's also a detoxifying because it decides what goes back in to go out. So imagine if we always talk about adhesions. That's like the most dramatic form of fascia dysfunction, but you can just have fascia that's a little bit dehydrated. You can have fascia that, may be just a little bit tight. We explain it like, when you travel or you store clothes and you you put that vacuum in and it sucks up your cover, your giant comforter down to this big. But that's what happens is we can choke out our muscles, we can choke out our intestines. And another thing, I know I'm on a soapbox, I think it's because it's fascia day, but when we start talking about neural plasticity, whether that's in the brain or somewhere else, neurons don't connect. It's all going through the fascia. So exactly. You can explain it. I'm like off on a tangent right now. Also, it was so funny because I wish the author is no longer living of this book, but my intention was to reach out to him and say, look, if we're going to talk about cell malfunction, here's the other piece of the pie. Imagine if you did the perfect nutrition, and I would say that your fascia would probably get better just with that, but it can't get to the cell. If you're spongy, gelatinous, people call it blood plasma, but what it is it's a fascia and blood combination. There's beautiful pictures of this. I put them on all my blogs because it's mind-blowing. Look at it. It literally looks like fascia and blood. You see the blood coming and it seeps through those fascia cells. So how can we just be like, okay. And then if you Google how to get good fascia, oh, I'm so disappointed. It's like foam rolling, which does nothing for fascia. Foam rolling's great. I will rub a glute on a foam roller, no problem. And then it's like, be active, get massages. And it's like, that is like saying, I'm going to take a rowboat to China when you have a falcon. You know what I mean? Like the fascia blaster, we know that it regenerates fascia tissue. So just blast. That is the lesson of this day.
Day 3, get your oils, get your blaster, and have at it. And we will see you on day 4 tomorrow.
Tee us up, Laura. What's day 4?
We got tomorrow.
We have the 4 horsemen.
Ooh.
Ooh, okay. Day 4, you guys. I'm going to let that be the Jared and Lyle show because I know they'll go right off the deep end, but it's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. It's the things that you need to remove from your diet in terms of it being a regular part of your diet forever. The punchline and why you should join us for tomorrow is we are talking about nutritional deficiency, but these 4 things in your diet can actually steal nutrition from your body and cause cell damage. So stay tuned. We're going to be coming at you tomorrow with our 4 horsemen of the apocalypse on day 4.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Adios.